there's some like video game segmentation of different users, like the person who wants to win, the person who wants to just explore and have fun, the social person, and the person who just wants to like mess with people. And we're like, all right, we kind of have like something for everyone.
Oh yeah, we back. We back, episode 79. Thank you for including the episode titles. Makes me feel accomplished. Episode 79 of Internet Explorers, where we just dive into all the cool shit that's happened in the consumer crypto space in the past week. And it was a big week.
It was a banger of a week.
Banger of a week. I always think that my emotional state isn't tied to the market, and then all of a sudden the market goes green, and I go, oh.
I mean, it's our like collective emotional state is, right? Like whether you individually feel immune from it, all the conversation, it bleeds into every conversation and everyone's energy. So
it's kind of like, winter here in Vancouver, where it's like all of a sudden, you go, okay, I can deal with it. It's gray. It's not a big deal. And then the sun comes out and I'm like, oh.
Yeah. It's like, oh wait, I've been depressed. I've been depressed for 6 months.
And every year sneaks up on me every year. Yeah, I mean, a lot to get into this week. First, before we do, excited to have Poof from DX Terminal joining us today. They sent me a little sneak peek of something they've been cooking up, and I was like, "Ooh, I want that." So, don't really know exactly what it is, but we got Poof on to come and dive in there with us. We had them on probably 6 months ago or something like that with their last drop, which took over the timeline for a little while. So excited to get into that. And then there's just like, this week was just news stories of all these things that I heard had been in the works for literal years, all of a sudden coming out. And the main one, seeing sort of Stripe's game plan for stepping into the crypto space, payments, new places to buy and sell, all the big social apps being like, oh, hey, let's get some stable coins up in here. Wallets are coming everywhere, crypto's coming everywhere, and up until yesterday the timeline was bearish, and now it's bullish and everybody's happy. So I feel like there's one other we had a wonderful interview with Jacob from Zora on last week, and we got that up on our timeline, but we also just finally put it up on to Zora, so we coined that content. It's the first of many things we're going to coin, so don't go all crazy with this lovely drop unless you love it and you want to be a part of it.
We've been coining for years.
Coining for years. We'll coin for more years. We didn't call it coining before. We might not call it coining in the future. Maybe we will. I don't know. I don't know why I have such an issue with coining. Why do I have a
I like coins.
It's probably right.
It feels more playful than tokens. So I think for the Zora use case, it makes sense.
For sure. Yeah, there it is. Peace. That's that number one there. Look at that. Market cap screaming, baby.
Look at that setup.
3 cents. I really like that format, though.
It's great.
It's very different being in the same room with people. So I think we'll have more of that coming up. All right. I think we had like a gazillion things to get into. But when I joined this call, Josh and Peace were talking about something that I would honestly, I think anybody getting dropped into the middle of that conversation would have the same reaction as I did, which was, ballerina? What is going on here?
Peace was dropping some hot takes on the Italian brain rot scene and saying that they should have closed the door before some of these recent characters got added. So, Peace, you want to give the world with your views?
Yeah, I mean, well, first, I feel like I was pretty late to this. This is like such an amazing trend. Like in March, I was like truly so overwhelmed seeing this because I was feeling emotional about social media. What some might call brain rot, I find is better than Dungeons and Dragons at its best while operating at scale. It's a globally distributed writer's room that digests localized storytelling into slapstick play-alongs that fold in digestible and often righteous, subversive social and political commentary. And that is because, so then yesterday, Olivia Moore from A16Z posts, Italian brain rot is taking over the internet, Cocomelon for adults. But really the videos that get me are the deep fakes from Bernie Was that his name? Bernie Sanders? Yeah. What a guy. Anyway, so there's these videos where, Bernie's playing Subway Surfers and he's telling us, and he says, why is it that Berber Patapim can't defeat Tung 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 Sahur, but Bonico Ambulabala doesn't stand a chance against Bombardio Crocodillo? It's about creating a fair fight, one where Tralero Tralala or Larili Labrila doesn't have to fly to defeat Bombardio Crocodillo or Bombombini Gusini. And I think that is so reasonable in of not just Bernie but whoever deepfaked him, because it's a kind of flattening of opportunity that the internet promises to provide. And I do have this opinion that Ballerina Cappuccina came in too late and we should have closed the door, but she's proven to be a fan favorite and has been good for distribution in general. People really respond to her, so I think that's great.
Right. So that is exactly what I walked into, and after hearing it in its totality, I still have the exact same response, which was like, cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It's I don't know. It's amazing. Apparently, if you check out the Know Your Meme history, it came from this Indian. It actually came from. God damn it! I'm not Islam, so I am not going to remember this right. It's Sahur is like the last day of Ramadan, and in Indonesia they have this drum that they bang when they break fast, and so tung 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 apparently is the onomatopoeia of it. And so this weird Indonesian like AI video got uploaded that was like tung 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 Sahur, and that just like fucking steamrolled into this insane character generation where people were like, okay, fuck it, this is crazy, we're just going to keep making characters and talking about this. And then they became Italian, I think because like minions speak romantic language gibberish or something. So it's just this nice
AKA
accidental aka Italian. It's this nice steamroll of just like people wanting to play along. Love when people want to play along. It's cool.
Yes, and for the internet.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Well, we got to
There you
cut
go.
that.
Are you
because
satisfied?
that is
I mean, I'm glad we got an
incredible.
informal. What did peace do on the internet this week? Because
It reminded me of
people have been
maybe
asking for it.
trends that PCs early is maybe the segment we got to get into in the future.
Yeah, I mean, technically, I think I was late to it. It's like by the time I saw it, there was a burgeoning scene, and it was like my For You page was taken over.
Well,
I mean,
I've
been holding the meme coin. I've been holding the Italian rap meme coin for a minute.
And this is the first time I'm honestly hearing about any of this stuff. So
Check
early
it out.
relative to the rest. All right. I don't know how we follow that up, but we will try. What we got, Josh?
I mean, we have a hilarious follow up. Is like the most kind of serious mainstream topic we will ever talk about. But it was just, I think, kind of referencing what you were talking about in the opening. It was just like an insane week for the mainstreamification of crypto. So we had Stripe launching stablecoin financial accounts, which I actually think is a pretty cool framing for it, like just calling them financial accounts, which allows businesses in 100 plus countries to hold, receive, and send US dollars. Previously impossible, now they can. Ramp launched its stablecoin backed cards, which is giving anyone globally open access to e-commerce. So your average, person in Nigeria or whatever, for example, that could only get a local card, if they could even get a local card, could not transact with that anywhere. So that's actually a pretty big unlock. Superstate launched on-chain equities, allowing public companies or late-stage startups to tap into internet capital markets. They're starting with Sol Strategies, which is like micro strategies for Solana, I think listed on a Canadian exchange, but been talking about that a little bit. Robinhood's building their own blockchain platform that'll allow retail investors in Europe to trade US securities. Coinbase acquired Deribit for $3 billion in the largest crypto acquisition ever. Meta was kind of teased to be looking at introducing stablecoins to manage creator payouts. So it's just a wild week across the kind of stablecoin, crypto making its way into trad finance, kind of big tech taking notice, kind of all this stuff.
Yeah, I feel like this is all the things that everybody's been saying would happen eventually. and they kind of all
It
happened.
all happened this
in a
week.
week, And last week, I think there's a bunch of stuff about new trading accounts open up, etc. And I expect there to be a bunch more. I mean, I had met somebody on the Stripe crypto team, I want to say at least 2 years ago, and it was interesting to sort of hear the game plan. And I think the wording of financial accounts is actually incredibly strategic, right? It's very much like Stripe's biggest cost is their interchange fees and banking costs, and their ability to pull that out is such a huge benefit to them from a margin perspective. And I think they were really just sort of biding their time to be able to go execute on that when regulations, et cetera, changed. And so it sounds like they see this as the opportunity today. I think that's what we're seeing in the market with all these teams launching new crypto specific things. And it's I just remember thinking, oh, gee, I wonder when this is going to happen. It's going to be really far out. And here we are.
Yeah. It is interesting too how like stablecoins very much seem like kind of like extending technology. Like obviously there are, a few big winners like Circle and USDT. But I think the opportunity for like really early adopters to come in and kind of, I don't know, create a ton of value around it seems to be maybe ending. Maybe that's not right. But I think these like banks are going to go launch stablecoins. Stripe obviously sees a big opportunity here. I think we do have, you have things like Blackbird that are really leveraging stablecoins and the margin advantages of them to build kind of net new things. But yeah.
I mean, I think stablecoins have been a very, very hot investment market for the last number of months. It's just at a big conference talking to a bunch of big money people, and stablecoins were the hot topic there as well. And I think there has been a lot of investment into new things. And you're also seeing USDT and Coinbase, et cetera, kind of try to deepen and maybe, I think they're is it Plasma? I forget what the right name is, but the sort of new blockchain for stablecoins.
Plasma, I think,
yeah. And so, I think, the idea of sort of a small scrappy team coming in and launching a stablecoin today probably feels pretty far out. I'm not sure. I mean, other than USDT, maybe. I don't know if we've had any that are kind of launched that way. But I mean, I guess we do with some of the other more algorithmic stuff that came out. But it seems to be a very approachable thing that teams can use. But I think like, while there might not be a whole lot of opportunity for small teams to come in and build these full networks, I think the enablement that these things will create for, especially for consumer crypto builders, is pretty big. I think it's hard to overestimate how much of an impact the limitations of the current banking system put on payments generally. I think such a tweet from Jesse today talking about sending money to Nigeria for 0.0003 cents. Like, that is truly disruptive. And so if we start to see, I think I was tweeting yesterday, the idea of wallets plus social accounts being a big unlock. And I know a lot of people are talking about that from a crypto perspective, and maybe we'll talk about the Coinbase Wallet a bit later on, but that's really not what I was talking about. What I was talking about is what happens when every Instagram and WhatsApp and Twitter and TikTok account has it. And I think what you see with Facebook and Instagram payouts there, just like the very natural first place to start, right? But to think that would be sort of the end goal is just purely to distribute payments is, I think, too limited. So I think we're truly on the edge of mass distribution potentials here. We'll see how long it takes for these things to roll out. It won't be immediate, but I think it's just probably one of the bigger opportunities that exists today. And I think what might be hard for some folks that are deeper in the crypto space is to sort of, like, we're kind of in this era where we almost have to let go of some priors. Like, very likely some of the biggest platforms that we'll be building on and for are ones that are in the Web 2 space and have distribution already and that have integrated these crypto pieces into it. I think it's going to be really interesting to see where the opportunity ultimately plays out.
Yeah, I agree. I think two other things that are on my mind is really just how this kind of growing ubiquity of crypto impacts public perception of the industry. Like, if suddenly everyone is transacting in stablecoins or holding stablecoins in some way, and hopefully knows that that's crypto backed, like whether they just become more interesting to kind of all the other stuff that exists here, and then ultimately, like, how do all these on-chain capital inflows that are going to come from this stuff, like, how do they make their way to the weirder edges of DeFi and consumer crypto? And I think
I
it's
mean,
this.
that last part I'm not super worried about. I feel like, like the consistent search for novelty and speculative games or things
For
to be
sure.
part of, etc., are just going to be very compelling. But yeah, I don't know. There's still this really prickly, awkward outer edge of crypto that we seem to continue to add to with more and more bullshit.
Vatican
Must
City's
be it.
on the list, baby. We're
Oh,
good. Stripe payments, stable coins to the Vatican. Support your Chicago Pope. He's gonna need it.
What's it called when you give money at church? What's that called?
Tithing.
Tithing.
Tithing's going on chain.
Nice.
Somebody call Jesse.
Yeah, totally. Tithe. That seems so obvious.
Send Jesse to Vatican City to walk through the churches.
See if he can give the Pope $5 in USD.
Would you like to do this tithing on chain?
That'd be a goated move. I love it.
That would be a goated move. Okay, nice. Yeah, let's jump to the next topic. So I tweeted this week that most breakout consumer crypto projects are going to sidestep CT entirely, and it got a bunch of love. So I just kind of wanted to tease out the thinking behind it a bit more. So really like my core belief is that serving crypto Twitter is a severe local maxima for projects with mass market ambitions. I just think like increasingly the demands and behaviors of people that are here just a horrible representation of broad consumers, and ultimately like building something crypto Twitter loves has a very high likelihood of being hated by almost everyone else. So and then also when you launch into crypto Twitter, I think just the like profit maximization and novelty seeking behavior that's rampant here actually just makes attracting users really easy, but retaining them almost impossible. And I think these like pump and dump adoption charts just makes further fundraising really difficult. So I'm obviously not saying don't build things for crypto Twitter. You can, we have many examples of how you can build great businesses serving crypto Twitter directly around the relatively small number of users that are here. But I do think that if you have a big vision and mass market ambitions, that kind of increasingly it's the wrong place to start, because the product that's going to get pulled out of you trying to serve those users is ultimately not something that's going to resonate broadly. So, and yeah, I just think when you're picking a wedge or a beachhead or whatever you want to call it to go after as an early stage startup, it's just so important to pick one that ladders up into new markets, and you're kind of building, kind of growing and compounding network effects as you do that. And it's just kind of my belief that crypto Twitter today just doesn't really ladder up into anywhere. So,
so I mean, what has changed in your mind to make? I mean, obviously this tweet got a bunch of love. People seem to agree with it. But 6 months, a year ago, this seemed like more of a pipe dream, or at least like the building for a wider market where everybody hates crypto and can't find an edge is far less appealing than at least building for the 25 people that might give you some insight and want to participate in it. So is all this news the thing that kind of led to this, or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a year ago the tech was like, you need to go serve people that were willing to deal with all like the kind of shitty tech and the hoops you had to jump through to go get the product that was on the other side of it. And crypto Twitter was very willing to do that. I think that's just increasingly not true today. You can build products that are very easy to onboard onto. You can actually have, reasonable like conversion acquisition numbers. So I think the door's now just wide open to actually go build things that, abstracts away some amount of crypto and actually has real viral potential. So if that's what you want to go do, I think you need to just go, that's where you need to go start. Obviously, so like, crypto is this unique, weird internet culture that will continue existing, and, I think will probably continue growing. So I do think you can go serve crypto Twitter directly, but I don't think it's a great ladder to the mass market if that's what you want to go do.
It's sort of interesting because the products, especially those that have tokens associated with them, need to really serve a trader archetype at some level. And so I think that was one of the interesting parts of our discussion with Jacob last week, was sort of, I think, thinking through what that, I think maybe they've built a great product for people to use. It sounds like they're bringing new people in and will kind of get it. But how much of their focus needs to be on kind of growing those markets, growing the sort of their token market themselves. And so it feels like we just have, this constant need to sort of serve to overlords in some way, right? Like the needs of our product and our users. And then ultimately people are buying these digital assets. We need people who want to come buy these digital assets. So I feel like it's going to continue to be somewhat complicated, but I do think that the gap for, building something that has PMF with a user archetype is there, and an opportunity to kind of step through. And clearly,
I feel like so much of this is actually just crypto getting over its own brain rot. Like, it's like the whole meme of 2021 and people saying like Web 2 me versus Web 3 me or something, as if you like actually stepped into this different world with like neon signs and vector path grid floors. It's like, no, yeah, totally. It's like it really, you can try, you could try to fit your product and market it towards the subset of users who are into trading narratives on Twitter or into trying out products, whatever. But it is not actually the total addressable market of people who might be interested in your very cool thing that you do.
Well, I think Zora is a great example, right? Like everyone, your crypto Twitter people are like, Zora's completely cooked. Like nothing breaks out, nothing hits $1 million, 10 million, $100 million. And then, so if Zora was like entirely focused on serving them, like that would have to be a thing they go solve. Whereas like mainstream creators who whatever sign up and make $5 because the thing hit $1,000 market cap, like that's this insane experience for them.
Yeah.
Right. So I think just knowing who you're building for and whose experience you're optimizing for is just increasingly important. And if you're optimizing for mainstream audiences, you like the crypto opinions are just going to be polar opposites.
The hilarious irony of that is like, if they do get the scale off of whatever, just people who are interested in social media, those things probably do go to insane market caps, because it's not about people moving in with size. It's about a true volume of people showing whatever marginal interest.
Yeah, and on aggregate that can be big. So,
I mean, let's jump to Focus Tree quick, because it's actually kind of a good example of this. So, Focus Tree is basically a focusing app targeting students, where you lock your phone for timed focus sessions and then earn items that you can use to go build a digital garden. And they have over 1 million downloads, 100K monthly active users. It's built entirely on chain, but you don't ever hear crypto Twitter talking about it. And it's because two things. One, they're focused on viral marketing on TikTok, where they've had 100 million plus views, boatload of UGC. I was scrolling through it this morning, and like people love this product. And they lead with all the like productivity and emotional value of the product, not the financial aspects of it. They're just kind of an added benefit of the game. And they use, paymasters, session keys, MPC wallets, all these like kind of cutting edge infrastructure to make onboarding seamless and crypto usage seamless. And, they can now go viral on TikTok and effectively, acquire and onboard those users and turn them into kind of retained users in ways that you just couldn't before. And I think I'm kind of getting increasingly excited by the shift where, people are building, inherently useful, emotionally resonant, culturally aware products where kind of speculation and crypto mechanics still exist, but they're used to serve like the power users or like power believers of the products, instead of being like really in your face and trying to be a core, like the central part of the experience, or serving like the casual experience.
Yeah, it's more like the coins in casual games, or Call of Duty. I don't go and buy a bunch of stuff there. I just like to go and kick my cousin's ass on that every once in a while. And yet there's this entire gazillion-dollar economy of people buying and trading and doing stuff like that. So yeah, I think there's like this type of thing is actually, I think, a really big deal, right? And the question to ask is, what happens when these types of apps that are like their own social context building and owning direct relationships with their users, and what does that unlock for folks? And I think, the crypto brain rot has sort of trained us to think that infrastructure tokens and like the layers, these platforms, that blockchains are the platforms that are going to be have traditionally been very valuable to own and to speculate on. And I think we're starting to enter into this era where these consumer apps are going to have so much power in defining what infrastructure they use, and so much value in the eyes of the consumer, because they have the relationship with them, that they sort of own that entire stack, if you will. And I think we'll start to see these apps start to make decisions on the infrastructure they use and how their tokens eventually come into these worlds. And I think all of that in my mind points to a devaluing or a removing of importance on what the actual infrastructure these things are built on. And so, when you start to see the scale of these things, when we see, layer ones and some layer twos generating hundreds of dollars a day, and these apps, or I think Lucas from Pods was sharing just about the amount of revenue that's come through their platform versus some of these multi-billion-dollar infrastructure products. It is impossible to look at that and think that that is sane and that's going to persist, right? And yet here we are still in some sort of, just 2 weeks ago, I think we saw like probably about $100 million invested into these other L2s right now. And so I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but it just seems insane ultimately. So,
I mean, Peace, can you open up the Dune?
Yes.
For focus tree. So scroll down. Look at the the hourly active users of Starknet versus the hourly active users of focus tree. Right? It's like these whatever apps, like chains don't make apps, apps make chains, right?
Well, I think that's something that Lucas said at this conference last week. I think chains don't make apps, apps make chains. I think that's very true. And this idea that actually, if we want crypto to, if crypto is successful, apps are going to be worth more than chains. In the same way that we see Facebook and Google being worth a lot more than, I don't know, Linux. That's a shitty example, but the ability to capture value from the consumer internet being a much bigger opportunity. So that's awesome. I mean, we're going to see some crazy dynamics here with the amount of money that's been raised by L2s and L1s. And man, sitting around this table last week, or I guess earlier this week, and everybody, whether you're an investor in some of these chains or you're operating these chains, everybody knows that we need the killer consumer app. And everybody thinks that people are just going to come and build that on their network. And I think that's a very short-term view, because the breakout consumer crypto app, the Facebook scale, the Google scale, they're not going to be building, on your chain.
They're going to build their infra.
They're going to build their own infra. And it makes me kind of crazy. I feel kind of crazy. Look, it seems so obvious to me, but I'm also like, there's so many other smart people that are putting their money in different places. Maybe I'm a dummy. And that's very much a possibility. Very much a possibility. But you look at this, you go, wow.
Sounds right to me, for sure.
I know.
I mean, I think the thing is that these games that exist can last a lot longer than they rationally should, right? So I think,
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I'm not shorting the market by any means. I don't have the ball for that. People would have a bad time shorting that narrative over the last 24 hours. Woo.
Yeah.
All right.
Should we get Poof up?
Yeah, let's get Poof up.
Oh, snap.
Poof.
Hey.
Hello.
I mean, this is fun because it's you.
It's me. Yeah.
It's you.
I'm like, fuck it. We'll dox here. Sorry.
Let's go.
How's it going, y'all?
Amazing, man.
I'm really excited to talk about my new L4 chain that's actually launching.
Yeah, that's the AI squared.
I hope you're not joking, because that would be sick.
Yeah, there's actually this new thing. It's called DX Terminal, and it's actually like a L7 on base just for agents. No, we're not doing that. But I geek out on that stuff, so I was listening to you guys just being like, yeah. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I love this. You sent me a message maybe 2 weeks ago. You're like, we're cooking up something new, and you sent me some screenshots, and I was like, I want that. But what I still don't know what it is really, ultimately. And so maybe that's a good place to start. Give us some context. What are you guys cooking?
Yeah, so let's start there. So yeah, for people who don't know me, Poof from DX Research Group and other stuff in the past. Yeah, we're cooking something crazy. So it's funny because we always have these like insane, cerebral, like AI innovation focus areas. But this one I think will feel more accessible, although it's like kind of deep. It's called DX Terminal. It's launching next week. It'll open on 5/13. But essentially, it is an AI agent simulation where we're going to simulate crypto, all of it. FUDing, pump and dump. The agents can trade, buy, sell, make new coins, all fully autonomous. It's going to take place over the course of a week. And all of the characters are set in this crazy, like if animal PFPs were real, 1987, starting on Black Monday. We did not know that Black Monday may actually happen. And now maybe, I don't know, things are mooning. It feels like the game is well timed, inadvertently. And then it'll end about a week later at Y2K. So it'll be fun. There's going to be like all kinds of crazy things that happen. You're going to be able to tell your agents what to do kind of indirectly, like you're their boss, right? Just sending them like, hey, go do this, or not. You can just let them go. And there'll be a little bit of competitive aspect to it. And then the thing that we're really excited about that kind of helps make it all come together is we had this collaboration with Gremlin on the art where we actually, at the beginning, it was going to be this small thing, and he's just awesome. But all of the characters that you'll mint are generated like with these unique personas and trading style and personalities, and the visual and their little like sprite are off of a model we trained with Gremlin's art. So we have like a Gremlin inspired kind of art style, but they can create like millions of different kind of combinations. So,
But can you smoke weed in the game?
You can smoke weed in the game. There's definitely weed in the game. There's pretty much like anything is in the game. It feels like now we just keep seeing weird stuff pop up. So
so you're sort of launching this new world that these agents get to go interact in. It's going to be alive for a week.
Yep.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
And the goal is to go in and I guess fuck around and find out. But ultimately to be like a valuable economic actor in this world. Is that sort of the measure there, or is there other creativity? Like what sort of outputs are we expecting here? Or what's winning? Is there winning? How do I win?
There's winning. There's winning. Yeah. It's funny. We were like, I was talking with someone. Every time I've explained this, there's like, you really get like, there's some like video game segmentation of different users, like the person who wants to win, the person who wants to just explore and have fun, the social person, and the person who just wants to like mess with people. And we're like, all right, we kind of have like something for everyone. But for winning, you're going to be assigned a company that you work for, which is like one of 6 groups. There's kind of like a sorting hat process that's tied to your wallet. You don't need to overthink it, but that's kind of like your big team. And then your goal is to, as both a company as an individual, get your team of traders to get the most in-game currency as possible, web coin. So by any means necessary, get the most web coin. And there's a reason we chose web coin. But that's the goal if you want to go really try and win. And it's not for, because like this is like a real, at the same time that this is a game, we realized and we went way too hard on this, but like this will be the biggest financial agent simulation that has happened with LLMs in this way ever. So probably not the right time to go have a token or monetary stakes attached to it, but that also lets us make it more fun. It'll have some Mario Kart energy to it, you know.
So web coins are they're only in-game currencies. It's not a token.
It's not a token. It's not a token. Originally we had an idea, like we had it set up so they could trade on like Uniswap pools and stuff, because it's all like a simulated Uniswap V2. But we were going to lock them all down so that you couldn't actually, like, we didn't want them to escape the game. But we realized like that was going to confuse the crap out of people, because they'd just be like trying to figure out how to trade them and everything else. So we're like, all right, we'll just simulate it internally. Got it. Okay. Yeah.
So my general sense about how you guys work is you like to sort of do these drops, and my sense is that it's in advancing other parts of either your research or exploration. And I think the previous drop was one sort of scale and duration and sort of image generation. I'm curious what is like the insight or the exploration behind this game.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think this one is like from a exploration standpoint, like so productive and so crazy. It feels weird to say because we started work on this like 5 months ago, but like it kind of is on the cutting edge right now, both on like AI in general, agents, and reinforcement learning as well. But this one started with, there's been this kind of fantasy, right, for people of like, I play The Sims or this kind of retro, any of those retro games, or even modern Animal Crossing, whatever that you like, and like, but they're actually AI agents that are more robust and complex and diverse, and like, oh, it'd be really fun to like play that. Like honestly, like that kind of like childish dream was the starting point as we were thinking about what to work on next. And we knew we wanted to do something with multi agents versus the first one was the single agent durational thing. And then what we just realized is the more we worked on it is like how hard it actually is to get an AI agent to trade correctly, or even just at all in a meaningful way, or how hard it is to go simulate, or get it to work and be meaningful and interesting with hundreds, thousands, scaling it potentially up to millions if we had to. And we probably won't, it won't be millions, right? But if we need to, we can kind of go up to 1 million. So it took a lot of the infrastructural things on scale, and we kind of took that forward. But we also like, the more we've learned, it's like, honestly, we might write a paper on it and like stuff like that, because it just really hasn't been done. And the behaviors we're seeing at, a couple thousand agent scale over a period of time is interesting. Like it's a lot of the stuff you see in crypto naturally is happening. So yeah.
Interesting.
The scammers emerge. The
Fighters.
Yeah, I mean,
the diamond hands. Yeah. Nice.
oh yeah, like and we, I could talk about it more too if there's interest, but it's kind of geeking out. Like we actually bought from and partnered with Dune. They were just starting to think about doing this to look at like all of the Solana meme coin data and transactional data for all history, because it's just so rich, particularly that data set, like so huge. Like there's just so many more transactions, right? And it's more degenerate in general. So we used a lot of that as like our benchmark of like, is that real? And then even like training models and stuff on it. But what was interesting is like, as we look at the behaviors, even without that, like they will, like if someone they can make coins, right? If they make like cat coin, someone will make like cat coin 2 and be like, oh no, this was actually the original one or something like that. Or like there will be like real scams where like, they'll change the I in a ticker to a 1 because they can do numbers in the tickers, and tell people that that's the real one to go buy, and they'll try to go buy it. So like, yeah, all the crypto behaviors come out.
Trench warriors out of a job here soon. AI is coming for everything. I love this. This is the game I play to distract myself on long flights. It's called Coffee Time. It is the like dumb, simple business simulation. I'm currently in the process of trying to own every single publicly traded company on here due to a little bit of let's just say we issue some equity at the top and then buy some banks with it as it goes down.
Incredible.
But it is pretty dumb, right? Yeah, pretty dumb generally. And I just think these sort of have long desired, a more in-depth and economically sound sort of business simulation game. I'm probably one of 7 people who care about that, but I find it's very, very interesting. Yeah, it's like it's a window into, there's a lot of promises, questions sort of about the generative gaming. And I think, a lot of people go to like the biggest value area that could be applied, which is like the creation of assets and yada yada. But I think, I don't know, I think there's the other direction, like the very simple, scaled down, yet a set of rules in a confined space that kind of allows for this generative stuff to kind of grow and it just seems like there's
100%.
so much cool like dynamics that can be put out there. I don't think I can speak today, but we'll keep trying.
No, 100%. Yeah, it's like it's one thing on that is what's really interesting is you think about like some of the big breakthroughs that have came out, or even just stuff that like I think almost people forgot a bit with AI even is like a lot of the core work that like led to so many other things was on games, like constrained environments, right? Like reinforce like AlphaGo was huge, the chess AI, various things were huge. People forget this, but like OpenAI in 2019, 2018 created like agents that were better than human players at Dota. And like those things, people have kind of slept on, but then like all of those methodologies, reinforcement learning, that whole space, like that's how you get deep seek thinking models. That's how a lot of robotics is going in that direction. Cause like instead of having to go collect data of robots in the real world, you just simulate it and have them self-learn over time. So there's actually like this weird thing where like our kind of, I want to say like our more creative kind of, out there belief system of like, hey, trying to get these things in a consumer interesting way, but then at the same time, potentially learning a lot from them. Like this is the one area where all of a sudden we're like, oh wow, we're actually like, you can see how these things can intertwine, right?
I mean, even on the hardware side, right? Like NVIDIA GPUs being built for gaming, like yeah, gaming drives everything. I'm curious. I'm curious if you could talk a bit about your just like focus on ephemeral software, because building for 5 months to release this game that is going to exist for a week is like that's kind of a crazy commitment, right? And you could imagine that the desire, or like there would be a pretty easy case to just be like, oh, maybe we should just launch this game and maintain it and build it, and we're committing so much time to it. So I'm curious if you could talk about why you're focusing so hard on just kind of ephemeral experiences.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. Like one is like just the core constraint of the space, or like of where we are today. And this is kind of part of what we're always focused on is like the experience we want to deliver, it costs more than is viable, right, for a normal consumer, unless we ask someone to go pay a ton, right? But we want it to be pretty broad-based participation, at least within crypto, and be a good experience and be something that's interesting, fun. They get collectible at the end, everything else. But yeah, like this is kind of stuff that doesn't scale right now in terms of what we're doing. Um, so that's one. And then I think the other thing is, one of the things about AI that is just kind of like a truth that I've absorbed more and more is like until you just run it, because it's such a black box, and until you really do the work, and this is true even in research, like a lot of the research is like, hey, we tuned this knob and it worked, and everyone's like, oh great, we're going to tune the same knob. Like it's not it's not always some like equation or something, right? You kind of have to get into it. So for us, it feels like you could really get over rotated towards like, okay, we're only going to make now AI simulation, economic simulation games, and that's going to be our thing, and da 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 da. And then we find we do this whole thing. No one's ever done it before, so there's no priors. They can't like see if it's going to work or not. And maybe by the end of the week, we realize like, well, they all like ended up in some kind of like insane standoff, and they just stopped trading, and it got really boring. Like there's like these things that we don't know, so we kind of have to like run it and see how it goes, and also see how people respond, like what do you like or not, and then we can think about developing maybe something long term. I think like with DX1 it was easier almost because that one is like a year and a half away. I can imagine there's a cost barrier that's broken, plus like a bunch of other things that make like a live stream simulation, something like that actually possible. And we could kind of pick up what we learned there and apply it. But like today, you couldn't do that. But for this, it's super expensive right now. Like it's going to be super expensive. But like I kind of feel like we've learned things that we could do depending on what works to like kind of cut some of that down, plus the acceleration of LLMs and like language mod, like that's happening so fast, everyone's working on it, so it's just like you get that benefit quicker. So this is one of those where like we go, okay. And again, this isn't like, we don't want people to like jump into this because they're like, oh, in the future, I'm going to be part of the most futuristic, my character's going to be like in the metaverse or whatever. And we'll like,
That's how I'm jumping into this, just regardless of what you say.
Well, hey, they're all going to be CCO, so you know if you want to use these characters in anything, feel free. But like I think this time is one where we're like, holy crap, there's a huge benefit to further developing this. Now it may not be the exact same, but there probably is something where we're, because it's just so meaty, and we've learned so much on it. So
I want to know who your credit guy is. Where are you getting all these credits from? You getting some credits? People looking
credit
kindly
guy?
at you? Well, just like I'm assuming there's an immense amount of cost in training or
Oh,
in
yeah,
running
yeah.
these sort of things. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm assuming you got some people doing some cool things with you, or you just rolling it yourselves.
We pretty much, I mean, like we work with a few different providers for different things. I think honestly the one I'll shout him out. We So on the language model side, like honestly, it's also commoditized. Like there's some cool stuff out there actually, like SF Compute. It's really cool if people don't know about them. They basically are like an open marketplace for GPU compute. It's extremely cool. We're not using them specifically for this, but I've used them to do
They have
training and all kinds of stuff.
billboards up when you're driving from the airport in San Francisco downtown. They have
Genius.
billboards up for this thing. Yeah. You're
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh,
that's
look
like
at
the audience, right? It's like, oh, I'm going from the airport to go sell some SaaS software. Oh, let me go. But yeah, so that's a cool one. We use Together AI for a lot and one or two other providers, but one really cool. So Together AI, please give us some more free credits or something. We don't really get any free, but one really cool partner, and I've known him for a while, is Astro Pulse from Retro Diffusion. He is a pixel artist who has been working on AI forever, like one of the early days people. And right around when we were starting this, we were training the Gremlin image model, which creates these like PFPs for the personas. And we're like, God, we wish there was some way to visualize the character, like where they are and stuff in the game more easily. But it's so hard to create like little sprites, and we want it to be sort of retro and everything else. And at the same time, he was working on creating a animated generative model. So we were able to use that and have these great little animated sprites alongside. So it kind of works Final Fantasy style, where you got like the portrait, and then you got your little pixel art guy. But yeah, and it's really, I mean, this is kind of like, as I think about, and especially for you guys, like you think about like AI moats and stuff and like areas, like one thing we've learned is like so much of it is domain specific actually, and like just requires this kind of like nonstop passion and innovation that like really didn't matter that Flux became better than Stable Diffusion, or like he just kept applying the same things, and like it just keeps getting better. And like I think that's super cool too, that people can kind of carve out these niches. But
yeah, are there any big like reflections or learnings from being in the AI trenches for the last 5 months that you would want to share for people that are maybe following, kind of walking down a similar path?
yeah, I mean, I've got a ton. So I don't know if people want to hear me babble on that, but like, yeah, like it was funny. In December, we said, okay, I think we want to do something that's wildly different than what we just did, DX1, but it's gonna require like us to go like super heads down. And like I just disappeared into a hole doing AI stuff for like 4 months straight. But I'd say like my two pieces of advice, especially if you want to work on AI stuff, is like it becomes almost a cheat code to just actually go try training models from scratch first, and just with like some stupid goal in mind. Like for me, we had this goal of like, okay, I know LLMs are not very good at making decisions and like following through with actions. So what happens if we have all this data and we turn it into tokens that AI can use? And can we actually get a model that just understands transactions really well and can make them too, and things like that. And like going down that path probably taught me more, because you get caught up in like all this fantasy about what AI is and all this stuff and like all this theory. And then when you're like in it, you're like, oh no, we're just like kind of like, it's a very pragmatic field. Like it's very much like what we're doing today is because GPUs are really good at this. And it's not even just that GPUs are good at it, it's that H100 specifically from NVIDIA happened to be. You know, it's like this very like technical engineering pragmatic thing. And then like actually going through the process of figuring out how to train models, what you find is like half of the work is just like literally twiddling with knobs. Like just, you know, you're like, oh, okay, let me change this a bit. Oh, okay, that works a little bit better or whatever. But going through that, you really build this intuition, you create the pipelines, you create the infra. So I find that that was like a big eye-opening thing, because it kind of just cut through a lot of the bullshit for me. And then I think
Yeah,
like
the barrier is just doing shit. Like you got to just go.
It kind of
There's
is.
no shortcut there.
And it's so dressed up in, hey, there's this new architecture, there's this new thing, there's this new acronym, and it's like, honestly, like the reason why everyone's using that new acronym is because it happens to be faster, or whatever. But that might be just right now, right? Like you don't need to kind of like do that. And the cost today to do this too is like much better. So anyway, so that was like my big thing, realizing, and like recommendation for people now is like, if you want to get into it, just go try to figure out how to train a model first, and just, you know, take a bit of time, but you can figure it out. And then I think the other thing is just like, there's so many weird paths for AI. I really feel like increasingly the progress is horizontal, not vertical. And I think everyone's locked in on the vertical because it's like, it's awesome. And like, you know, when a new Gemini Pro or OpenAI thing comes out, like I just benefit. I do this great, code easier. I can go use it. It's incredible. But there's so many different underexplored paths. Like you kind of see it the more you work in it, you're just like, oh wow. And especially where a lot of the new research and what we found too is like small models can be really, really good. So like it really opens up the aperture of like doing things like this and everything else. And the same way that large models scale, small models seem to be getting more dense and be able to do kind of the same thing. So there's a lot of like other places that are really interesting that I think there's almost just not enough people exploring, because the resources are all just like so focused on this like vertical.
Love it. All right. So when does this launch, and where can people go sign up so they don't miss the launch? AKA me, because I will forget about it. And I need a notification, baby.
I'll make sure I send you. Yeah, notifications on. Follow DXRG AI on Twitter or Farcaster, or X. And it mints on. It opens up on 5/13 on base. And there'll be more details and stuff coming out soon on exactly all of the other components. But 5/13 on base, DXRG.
All right, you all. I'm coming for you. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna dominate. I'm not. I'm really not. The level of I can already just see the level of intensity with which some people are gonna start to play this. So but we'll see. We'll give it a college effort.
Is it an infinite mint, or do I need to crank my gas limit or something over here?
We want to make it accessible, so you'll be able. Yeah, you'll be good.
All right, nice,
amazing. Well, I appreciate you coming and giving us an early look into this. Excited to jump in and see what crazy things result from this experiment next week. And yeah, go give DX DX Research Group. Oh, such a cool name, but I always forget how to pronounce it. DX Research Group on Twitter. And then yeah, I guess we'll see you in what do we call it? See you in the autonomous economy, or is
the autonomous
is there a name to this?
You got it. Yeah, it's DX Terminal is the whole world and universe, and then we're kind of coining this autonomous economy term. So
own it. Clock in crash out. I almost said cash out, but you can't cash out. So
You can't cash out. Yeah,
you can,
exactly. See,
you
that's why
can
it's crash
blockchain
out.
and you can
You're gonna
crash out.
freak out at the end when you think you can cash.
I wasted all my week. Awesome, man. Appreciate you hanging out with us, and best of luck as you push towards the launch.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks, y'all. I really appreciate it.
Peace, man.
Thank you. Ciao.
I mean, what a gift to get the doxed founder here showing up.
So much more fun when you
that was-
can see faces.
Always that's fun. I mean, yeah.
Just, this is like your dream. This is your dream product.
Well, it would be my dream product if I could
Cash
clock
out.
in, crash out, and then cash out. But I think it makes a ton of sense, and I mean, definitely for an early run, I think keeping it simulation based makes a ton of sense. There's probably a lot of things I got to go figure out.
It's also just like it's just come out fun and don't fucking have to worry about the financial.
You go, it's market simulation, and then we go market stimulation.
Okay.
So simmies then stimmies at least.
Yeah,
let's get a dry run.
Stimmies. That's like some insight on how to go build crypto games right there.
Could just launch a token off the back of it to people based on their.
Well, somebody's going to do it.
Yeah,
like somebody's going to launch a token for this sort of thing, without a doubt. There will probably be multiples that come out. So the idea of keeping the speculation out of these things is, yeah. Poof is just in the chat here saying, "I'm going to steal this term. Thank you, simmies and stimmies."
You got it. Yeah, I hope
it's all yours, man.
Yeah,
all yours. All right, do we have anything in our lightning round we want to get into before we log off?
I mean, we could quickly talk about Coinbase Wallet Farcaster if we wanted to.
Yes.
I know you have some hot takes there. So Coinbase announced a while ago that they were integrating Farcaster into Coinbase Wallet, and I think we're getting close-ish to the release date. So they've started teasing some screens out as they get closer to it. And obviously, like many people in the Farcaster community are understandably very excited by this. But I think we've had some good discussions with a bunch of people just around how this is going to go, if leaning into the feed's the right thing, if, starting as kind of this utility wallet product and trying to kind of graft on a social experience is going to work. There are some historical examples where it hasn't. So curious where your head's at on it.
I mean, the fair thing is I haven't played around with it, and so I should probably reserve judgment until then, but I probably won't. I mean, to me, it feels like it is very likely that every social product is going to have a wallet, and that is meaningfully different than every wallet being a social product. Mm-hmm. And I think that there are very two very different jobs to be done, at least for me, in how I use these wallets. And the wallet has a very important and very simple one when I'm thinking from like a general purpose one, which is just let me transact and don't lose my shit. And so I think like the reason people are sort of logging into these things are just very different. I think that context ultimately matters. So, I think I've jokingly said I worry that if Coinbase doesn't get this right, it's going to be their Google Plus moment. But I truly hope that's not the case. But maybe the insight there for me is that it feels more likely that a social product needs to start off as a social product, and then adding a wallet into that is a very natural thing to do, and that adding social products into a wallet just feels a lot more awkward that way. I understand the excitement. I think that the idea of there being millions of users of these wallets being accessible now and distributing. I also think that mini apps, as we've been experimenting with a bunch of mini apps. I think you sort of shared this in our discussions, this idea that being a mini app platform might make the most sense here. And I kind of agree with that. The feed seems awkward in there in my mind. And I think will continue to be so. So, but again, haven't played with it. I think some folks had it out in the wild recently. The general sense is that it's still very, very early. And I don't think launch is a little ways away, so we'll see what they get done as far as
a couple months or something
there.
Yeah.
So this would be very good if it works. But I always think about like the opportunity on Bitcoin as being relevant here. So people are like, Bitcoin, there's so much value locked in Bitcoin. What if we brought out lending products? What if we brought out smart contract platforms on top of it? And the reality is people just in that Bitcoin community they're not there to go do things with the Bitcoin. They want to go park it somewhere, trust that it's going to go up and not do stuff. And so while the opportunity is huge, the the mindset or the the frame in which people are entering into these products is very, very different and
Yeah.
is very, very important. So let's see how they thread the needle here.
Yeah, it's very hard to change public or consumer perception of your product if you're like solidified within a job to be done. And I feel like having a mini app store or just focusing on mini apps is actually kind of an extension of the existing job to be done. It's like, you have money here. What do I do with it? Obviously aggregating DeFi protocols and kind of, yield earning opportunities is one piece of that. But having mini apps where I can go use it or speculate with it or send it to friends or, whatever use cases emerge there feels very natural. But yeah, the transition from the place where I want to manage my money to the place where I want to scroll a feed feels weird. And I think obviously like it helps that they don't have to go bootstrap this network from scratch, but also the like very crypto focused content of Farcaster, I just can't imagine resonating that well with like the broad audience of Coinbase. So I don't know. I'm curious, excited to see how it goes.
Yeah, like what would somebody who's in there trying to buy an extra 0.01 Bitcoin because they got their bonus, what content do they really want to see there that's going to make them become long-term users of the app? I don't know. And maybe these are smart people, so maybe there's sort of some user behavior in that out in the wallet right now, or that they're seeing that they're going to go build for. So eager for this to come out. I think there's potential for 1 million plus more users into the Farcaster ecosystem, and thus having a wallet plus social account and mini app launcher and all that sort of stuff. So distribution continues to be the biggest challenge for anybody building apps, and so new distribution source. Let's go. Want it to win. But I just can't shake that feeling that it just feels meaningfully different here, and that is also to say I think that we will have thousands of these apps out there that people will see as social plus wallet, and I think there's a ton of opportunity in the because there's such a different experience people are looking for when there's a social context designed around a game or around a social product. I think that does represent a bunch of opportunity for folks to go and build these types of things, and I think Focus Tree is a wonderful example of that. Pump is a great example of that. Polymarket's a great example of that. Zora and Paragraph are a great example of that. There's many, many, many more that are out there, and it's just been in this phase. It's felt very, very small. And I think the question is now, as the wider world is waking up to crypto, and as we continue to sort of distribute the meme in a positive way, what new things can be built. Dope. All right. What else is going on in our world before we say goodbye, Josh?
I don't know. I guess if you didn't, we had our last weekend. We had the mini app demo day at FarCon. If you haven't watched it, I actually highly recommend it. I think all 16 out of 16 presenters both did a very good, succinct job at describing their product, which can be a challenge at demo days. But also, they're all building on top of some kind of interesting, unique insight that's unlocked from open social graphs or embedded wallets or some properties of Farcaster. So I do recommend reading it or watching it. I think we've had a bunch of people who were skeptical of Farcaster, skeptical of the potential of mini apps after being at the event or watching it, kind of having their minds opened a bit. So
yeah, it was a great event. It was standing room only. Nicholas and team, you guys knocked it out of the park, and it's getting a bunch of love on the Twitter. So,
and if you have ADD and you want to pick and choose, we like split out all the products here. So maybe you'll have heard of something and you can hop to YouTube and
our ADD people put it into an ADD friendly frame for you. So you're welcome. Awesome. And yeah, we also had that episode up with Jacob last week, that if you're still curious about the thinking behind Zora, the thinking behind when to launch a token, I also asked them the spicy questions that people on the timeline were asking. Like, did you collude with Jesse to pump your token prior to launch? And I think the look on his face was the best answer to that. Is all he's just like, fuck my life. But yeah, it was a great one. And we have that up on Zora right now if you want to go collect that. All right. Let's see what next week has to bring for us. Hopefully more green candles and broader adoption of crypto. It seems like the trend that we're on. Sure, give us a follow. C Club HQ on Twitter. These podcasts are all available up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. So if you don't want to watch us live, you can subscribe over there. And until next week, I guess we'll see you on chain, hopefully in the land of green.
Ciao
Ciao.
for now.
Internet Explorers.